Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I will be reading What If Naruto Accepted His Dark Side Part 1. I'll leave the link to the original fanfic in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. Prologue. 1 month. That's how long since Naruto had left on his training trip with the famous Jiraiya the Sannin. So far, he hadn't learned anything useful from Jiraiya. Naruto had been expecting to learn a lot from him, but so far he had been disappointed. Though, it did give him a lot to think about his current self. Was he strong enough? Was he on his way to become the best ninja that he could be? Or is he just simply wasting his time? These were the thoughts that were crossing Naruto's mind as he and Jiraiya entered another village. "Alright brat, work on your chakra control tonight while I check this city out," said Jiraiya while thinking, "Time to get more material for my next novel." "But that's all I've been doing this entire month," protested Naruto. "Isn't there anything else we can do?" he asked. "I'm your master and you're my student." "Students are supposed to listen to their masters," countered Jiraiya. "They're also supposed to teach stuff," thought Naruto. "Boo, no buts. Now go find a training place until I return." With that, Jiraiya walked away, leaving Naruto all by himself. Stupid pervert. How did he even become so strong? Thought Naruto as he walked on. At this rate, I'll never improve. Finally, he found a place in the forest to be appropriate. So he started to meditate, something he learned to do while having nothing to do. Soon he found himself in a familiar sewer with a familiar cage. "So, what is it that you want this time, whelp?" asked the cutie. "Nothing, I just started to meditate and I came here." "Why?" asked Naruto. "It's simple. Right now you're feeling negative emotions, and I'm made up of negative emotions, so your subconscious brought you here," answered the cutie. Then Naruto remembered his problem and started to get angry again. When the cutie saw this, he laughed. "What's the matter, whelp? I've never seen you this angry before," said the cutie. "It's the pervert that's supposed to be teaching me," began Naruto, "but all he does is peep on women for that stupid book of his. I see, at this rate I'll never become Hokage." With that statement, Kyuubi began to roar with laughter. After a while, Naruto started to get angry. "What the hell are you laughing at, you stupid fox? I find it amusing how you want to protect those little insignificant humans who cause you nothing but suffering," answered Kyuubi. Now Naruto was confused. "What do you mean? Don't tell you have already forgotten your childhood." Now Naruto understood. "Who cares about that? Eventually they'll acknowledge me and accept me." "Ha ha ha. You truly are stupid. Humans will never accept something they can't comprehend or control. It's in your nature. Boo, just accept it all already and stop wasting your time. Because that's exactly what you're doing right now. You could be using this time to make yourself stronger, but instead you're just simply playing ninja with that pervert as you called him." Naruto knew he was right. As much as he hated to admit, he knew that Kyuubi was right. "Then what am I going to do? I have no one else to teach me, nor do I have anywhere else to go. You really are stupid. Are you forgetting that you have me? As much as I don't like you and would rather tear you apart, I'm stuck inside of you, which means that because of your stupidity you might die, which in turn I'd die as well." But Kyuubi paused to think about that. He wouldn't die, of course. His chakra would simply just split itself into parts and then come back together at a different location. But that was just simply annoying for the great Biju. He would be weak, something that he detested. It wouldn't be for some time that he would regain his full strength, and that would leave him vulnerable. But the brat didn't need to know all of that. Coming out of his thoughts, the Biju continued. "I also have a great wealth of information that will benefit you as well, techniques. And as for living, we'll live off the land. Life is simply much less complicated that way." To Naruto, all of this sounded too good to be true. "How can I trust you?" he asked. "Finally, you're using your brain, huh? You don't know if you can trust me or not, but as I said earlier, you die, I buy. Besides, would you rather waste 3 years of your life simply doing nothing, or would you rather have a chance to become as strong as you can be and show those idiotic fools what they lost because of their feeble minds?" retorted Kyuubi with a dark sinister grin on his face. Naruto thought it over. What did he have to lose? He was simply wasting his time, like Kyuubi said. Jiraiya had no interest in teaching him. All the pervert cared about was that novels of his, while leaving Naruto with nothing. And that was not what he had agreed to when he came on this training trip. As for Kyuubi, the seal held him back. Naruto realized that. So as long as he didn't do something as stupid as to break the seal, he would be fine. So in the end, it was a good deal to the young blonde knucklehead ninja. "Fine. I'm in," answered Naruto after a while. Kyubi merely nodded, before giving him instructions as to how to ditch Jiraiya undetected. But Naruto was thinking of the good things that would come with this. Finally he would have a real teacher. A chance to become strong. If only he knew what would happen as a result of his decision. Chapter 1. A good choice. 5 months. That's how long since Naruto had left his official training trip with Jiraiya and decided to do what Kyubi had told him to do. Under Kyubi's guidance, he covered his tracks well enough that not even Jiraiya would be able to find him. He'd also cut any connections with the toads in case Jiraiya tried to use them. How? He simply destroyed the contract that he had with the toads. Naruto was no longer able to summon them, but he didn't mind or cared. Naruto was also becoming stronger and felt himself getting stronger every day. He'd learned that he remembers everything that his shadow clones do when they dispel. Thanks to this, his chakra control has improved drastically. He's also improved his taijutsu, while not as great as Guy or Lee, it improved to a decent level at the moment. He's also started to become interested in Kenjutsu, but he still has a long way in that area. Where he has excelled the most out of all the ninja areas is at elemental training. He learned that his primary affinity is wind, with water being his second. Kyubi was not surprised by this. The Uzumaki clan were all composed of all strong wind and water users, with a few lighting users, and even rare fire and earth users. Thanks to shadow clones, he'd managed to control his affinities at a high level, but was complete at the moment. He was getting there, but more work needed to be done. He'd also learned jutsus for both of his affinities. He'd also managed to do the Rasengan with one hand once his chakra control improved. He has been trying to add his affinity to the Rasengan, but for the moment, he still hasn't gotten it down yet. In all, he was at a high Chunin to low Genin level right now. He also learned something crucial in the past 5 months. His old teachers sucked. That was it, plain and simple. Kakashi most of all. At least Jiraiya had taught him the Rasengan and how to summon, but all Kakashi taught him was the tree climbing exercise. But all that was over with now. All Naruto cared about right now was to get stronger, and he was getting there, Naruto realized. Little by little and with hard work, but he was getting there. Kyubi was pleased at the moment. His container has improved faster than he had anticipated. He figured that had had something to do with his heritage to the Uzumaki clan. But most of all his connection to that damn Yondaime Hokage who had sealed him yet again. Better not think about it right now, thought Kyubi, shaking his head to clear away those thoughts. Soon another being joined him, and he didn't look too happy at the moment. TCH, something the matter? You're helping him. And never thought you would do it. Especially since he's the son of the second man you hate the most in this world. Heh. It's better this way. Soon that Madara will come back and try to capture me again. I preferred to be controlled by the brat rather than Madara. We both know that he's not strong enough to defeat you. Yet. Soon he will be. In time and with proper teaching, he can become strong enough to rival even Madara himself. He's also going to find out about you soon, you know. And he can't get rid of me, no matter what he tries to do. Even if he defeats me, which is highly unlikely, his darkness within his heart will always remain, which means that I will always exist as a result. You have Konoha to thank for that. They're fools. Though I guess I should be grateful to them because, if they hadn't been the idiots that they are, I would never have been born in the first place. Indeed. For now, I'll just simply keep watching my other self's progress. Then, when the time is right, I'll reveal myself to him. As you wish. With that, Dark Naruto receded back deeper into Naruto's mind until he would meet his other self. And Dark Naruto couldn't wait for that to happen. I'm so dead. Thought Jiraiya. Where did that brat go? Indeed. It has been 5 months since Jiraiya lost Naruto. At first, he simply thought that the hyperactive blonde was just simply training, but after the 4th day of him not returning to the hotel where they had supposed to have had stayed in and just simply not returning to the town itself, he went to look for him. But he found no trace of him. Who knew that the brat was so good at stealth? If only he knew that Naruto had outrun the Anbu and had managed to hide from them after pulling his famous pranks. If only. Back to his current problem. He had tried to look through using the Toad contract as well, but that didn't work either. Why? Somehow the brat had been able to release himself from the contract with the Toads. And that saddened Jiraiya a lot more than anyone could have thought. And now, he had no way of knowing where Naruto was. Jiraiya was simply using the old method of searching people, seeing no other alternatives. And that was to ask random people if they had seen Naruto. Oh, use the spy network as well. But so far, even that had been useless. If I don't find him soon, Tsunode's gonna kill me. Oh yes, Jiraiya could only imagine what Tsunade would do to him if she found out that he lost the person who she thought of as a son. Damn it. Bedlam. Yes. Finally he'd managed to add his wind affinity to the Rasengan. It wasn't complete yet, obviously, seeing as it drained him from more of his Kepker than it should, but he was definitely improving at least. Naruto grinned to himself. He never thought he'd be able to be this strong all by himself. He thought he was a failure, but it just proved that Konoha was not good to him at all. Enough about that place. Back to training, he thought to himself. With that, he went back to perfecting the new jutsu that he had just learned. If only he knew that this was only the beginning of the many changes that would take place in his life. But for now, Naruto knew that he'd made the right choice of following Kyuubi's idea. While all this was happening, Kyuubi just grinned and thought to himself, this is the greatest revenge I could possibly think of for you, Yonde. Your son hating the village that you oh so honorably protected. He might not hate the village right now, but soon he will, especially when he learns of all the things that were kept from him and merged with his other self. With that, he went back to watching his container train, making himself stronger. He was gonna need it for the things to come. Chapter 2, Plans. So basically what you're saying is that learning seals can be useful. Exactly. How? Look at me. I was defeated because of seals. Alright. You've proven your point. The only problem is that I don't think I have the patience to do them. Well, learn how to. You already know how to meditate. Just think of it like that. Besides, it won't be too hard. Seal making is in your blood. What do you mean by that? Nothing. Let's just start already. Naruto just merely narrowed his eyes at the vision that was currently sealed within him. Almost a year had passed already. His Kepker control was as best as it could be. He had a bunch of powerful jutsu in his arsenal as well. His most powerful being, Futon, Rasenshurken, which he had mastered 3 months earlier. His sword skills were at low cage level, which he was satisfied at the moment with. Genjutsu was his lowest skill. He could dispel them and detect them, which Kyuubi said would be enough. But in the past year, not only have his skills grown, but his intelligence as well. He could tell that Kyuubi was hiding something from him, but decided not to comment on it. At least not until he was stronger. Kyuubi was mentally cursing himself. Now his container would be suspicious of him, making his goal harder. He calmed himself down though. There's plenty of time before he would start his plan. But he realized something, it would be harder now. Naruto had grown smarter and would not listen to him easily. Alright. I'll go buy the supplies, then. Naruto disappeared from his mind of the real world to get everything ready for his next step of his training. Naruto had gotten to working random jobs that classified as D-rank missions in a shinobi village. Was it a pain in the ass? Definitely, but money was necessary for some things such as clothing and training supplies, so he survived through them. Right after he left, another being took his place. You just made your first mistake. Shut up. You don't think I don't know that. Don't take it out on me. Besides, I think you're stupid in trying to deceive him. Just tell him everything. He's not the same idiot as before, something that I'm grateful for. He's not just going to forgive them like before. I'm pretty sure of it. After all, I'm him. Kyuubi thought about it. It was true. Naruto had definitely changed in the past year. He was no longer the same blonde knucklehead that he was when he started training. He was starting to mature in both mind and body. You're right. But why are you telling me this? Kyuubi narrowed his eyes at the dark entity. You want him to destroy the village, don't you? Ha ha ha. Don't make me laugh. I don't give a shit about that village. All I want is to be free and cause mayhem. Don't believe me? Well, I don't care. Soon, my other half and me will fight and see who has the right to freedom. You think you can defeat him? I know I can. After all, I am his darkness. And, in the little probability that I do lose, he's turning more and more like me every day, so it makes no difference at the end. Kyuubi just merely watched as Dark Naruto disappeared. I wonder how this will turn out. You were saying he just vanished. Yes, Pain-sama. Pain just cited that. From what Zetsu was telling him, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki just vanished off the face of the earth. This will make their job a lot harder, alright. But the Kyuubi wasn't the only Bijou that needed to be captured for their plan to work. Alright. Itachi, Kisen, here's your new target until Zetsu is able to find the Kyuubi. The two named criminals just simply paid attention. Well, one did, but Itachi was also processing this new information. It seems as if Naruto-kun is up to something. But what could that be? I'm sure Danzo will never allow something like the QB to slip out of his fingers. Unless he doesn't know yet, which means Jiraiya hasn't told anyone yet. Did Danzo not send his root to monitor them? It was a possible theory. After all, having someone like Jiraiya traveling with Naruto, it would be hard to keep tabs on Naruto without Jiraiya himself finding out about it. It seems as if this will be interesting, thought Itachi to himself. Will it be good? Well, it was too early for even Itachi to know the answer to that question. With that, he paid attention to his next assignment. Back in Rain after the meeting among the Akatsuki members, a beautiful woman with blue hair and amber eyes wearing the standard Akatsuki uniform appeared next to the current path that Pain was using at the moment. And that path was Tendo, which was his most commonly used out of all the other paths. Pain, he's here. Next to her, a man appeared in a vortex. I hear you're having difficulties, he commented drearily. It's nothing that I can't handle, answered Pain without turning around to face the man. You better make sure it isn't. Even if you have the Rinnegan, you know that I know your weakness, said the man with a threatening undertone in his voice. Kana narrowed her eyes slightly at that. Harry, my Darkside, simply replied Pain. Good. The QB is an important part to my plan. Find it. With that, the man disappeared the same way he appeared. Pain merely kept staring at the village below him. And you haven't seen or heard anything about him? Nope. Sorry, Jiraiya. Jiraiya just cited that. He's been checking all his contacts throughout the elemental nations to see if anybody had seen or heard anything about Naruto, but so far he has not had any luck. It's been a year already. I hope this hasn't gotten out yet. Not only that, but I'm going to have to face Tsunade soon. This really sucks, thought Jiraiya, crying mentally to himself. Before regaining his bearing with that in mind, he went to check his next contact, all the while hoping that he can find Naruto as soon as possible. Is this information accurate? Yes, Danzo-sama. This is troubling, thought Danzo. There's no way we can lose the QB. Jiraiya, that idiot Danzo had never approved of Jiraiya taking Naruto on that training trip. He knew the way Jiraiya was. The man was simple too irresponsible unless a situation called for it. But he was even more pissed at Tsunade for agreeing to the trip in the first place. And now this happens. If only Sarutobi had let me train the boy, Konoha would have a powerful weapon within its ranks, thought Danzo bitterly to himself. Nothing he could do about it now, except to find the boy and bring him back to Konoha. With that in mind, he refocused his attention back to the Anbu gathered in front of him. Perfect. So, he issued his order. Root. Find me Uzumaki Naruto and bring him back to me. Orochimaru-sama. What is it, Kabuto? Kabuto joined his master as he watched Sasuke on top of a small hill train down below. It seems as if Naruto-kun has disappeared, answered Kabuto, readjusting his glasses. Orochimaru finally turned to look at his right-hand man. Akatsuki. He simply said. Kabuto shook his head at that. No. It seems as if he left Jiraiya when they were on their training trip all of a sudden. And apparently he can't find him, and neither can Akatsuki, further added Kabuto. Orochimaru just listened to all this. After a while, he laughed as his long tongue came out of his mouth. It seems as if Naruto-kun is more skilled than I thought. If we can even evade my idiot of a teammate, praised Orochimaru. Well, sort of. Indeed. What are we going to get, Orochimaru-sama? Asked Kabuto. Nothing. This will keep Akatsuki busy while I train Sasuke and get him ready for me to possess his body, answered Orochimaru with a wave of his hand. As you wish, Orochimaru-sama, replied Kabuto with a bow. With that, Kabuto left to his other duties. Orochimaru thought of the new development as he turned back to oversee Sasuke's training. Naruto was up to something, if only he knew what. Could the boy have found out what happened with his clan? No, that wasn't possible. No one knew of that, save himself and the mastermind behind Akatsuki. Everyone else that did was already dead. Never mind with that. Soon I'll have Sasuke's body in her Sharingan. And when that happens, Konoha will burn to the ground. Thought Orochimaru with glee. So this is the basics of seal making. That's right. Huh. This is easier than I thought it would be. Kyuubi just shook his head at that. He then thought back to what Dark Naruto told him. Now was the time to make his decision. Would he tell Naruto everything and hope he would hate his father afterwards? Or wait until later when it might be worse, when the brat was already getting suspicious of him? A tough choice indeed. What to do? After a while, he made his decision. Naruto. The blonde looked up from his current seal that he was working on when his name was called. Of course, it was just one of the basic ones, but you had to start somewhere. Kyuubi looked at his young container straight in the eyes. It's time you knew of your heritage. Chapter 3, The Darkness Within the Heart. My heritage? Naruto asked him. Wonder. This was the question he had always asked himself. Who were his parents? Did they abandon him? Where did he come from? The sensei always said he never knew. Now, though, Naruto was starting to believe he was lying. No, he was definitely lying. After all, he was a Hokage. He knew everything that happened in the village, well, legal matters at least. Knowing who his parents were was a simple matter compared to some other things. Unless his parents were some sort of high-ranking criminals, which was highly unlikely. Wasn't it? Yes. The QB paused for a second after that. How should he start? With his mother, or his father? After a few more seconds of contemplating the matter, the Bijou made up his mind. Let's start with your mother, shall we? This would be better than starting with the worst one. At least his mother didn't do anything that affected her son's life for the rest of his life. Naruto held his breath. Finally he would get his answers to the thing he wanted to know the most in the world, or so he thought. The name of your mother is Uzumaki Kushina. Uzumaki. Naruto thought. The first thing you need to know is that she was my previous host. What? Naruto interrupted in a scream. What the hell? His mother was a Jinchuriki as well. But not any kind of Jinchuriki, but the Jinchuriki of the QB. Again, what the hell? Yes, and do not interrupt me again, or I won't tell you anything else, QB said while he glared at Naruto. Naruto took a breath to calm himself down. Calm down, Naruto. Just ask him anything you want after he's finished telling you everything. This was way too important for him to just simply not get any answers because of his impatience. When QB saw that his container had calmed down, he began again. As I was saying, your mother was my previous container. You see, she had special kepker that could hold back my own perfectly. That's the reason why she was brought to Konoha in the first place from her home, which is by default your home as well. The place where the Uzumaki clan is from. Whirlpool. Naruto's head was spinning at the moment with just this little bit of information. Uzumaki clan. He had a clan. He had always thought he was from some civilian family, and that the Yondaime Hokage had only picked him because he just happened to be born in the day that QB attacked the village. But it would seem that he was wrong all along. His mother was a shinobi. An important shinobi of that, and probably a strong one as well. And she also came from an important and powerful clan as well. If only he knew that this was just the beginning of the things that he was going to learn. Suddenly, QB began to chuckle. It's kind of ironic that, so far, all of my containers have been Uzumakis. At Naruto's confused expression, it elaborated some more. My first container was Uzumaki Mito, the wife of the Shodan Hokage. Naruto's eyes widened at that yet again. All of QB's containers were Uzumakis. To him, his clan was beginning to seem more important the more he learned about things, and this was just simply one aspect of things. Anyway, the Uzumakis were an extremely powerful clan. If I told you that seal making was in your blood, it was because they were extremely powerful seal makers, which was their main skill. You learning so quickly is proof enough of that. They were also powerful water and wind users, very skilled sword users, and had very high stamina. Naruto was amazed at all of this, but who wouldn't be? His clan was amazing. It would seem that Sasuke wasn't the only one who came from a powerful clan after all. The Uzumakis are also descendants from the Tsunade clan. Another reason added to the list right there, even though Naruto would admit that he didn't know too much about the Tsunade clan except for the fact that they created Konoha. They split up from the Tsunade because they were tired of the fighting between the Tsunade and the Uchiha. The Tsunade and the Uchiha have always had a rivalry between each other. I don't know why they did, and I really don't care about it either. QB lied when he said that. Of course, he knew that it was because that they were the descendants of the two sons of the Sage of Six Paths who hated each other after the Sage of Six Paths died. Well, the older son did anyways. The younger one simply defended himself. But that would be saved for a later date. Basically, they split up from the Tsunade to get away from all the fighting and settled in an island, which they named Whirlpool Orozu. With the help of seals, they were able to form a complicated defense of whirlpools, and several defensive barriers which no one could get in unnoticed. They also became like the middle way between the Tsunade and the Uchiha. After a while, hidden villages began to form as you know them today. Afterwards, the legendary battle between Madara and Hashirama took place in the place you call the Valley of the End, in which Madara summoned me and used me as his ultimate weapon against Hashirama to defeat him. Naruto noticed that QB said that with anger in his voice. No, it was more intense than anger. It was hatred. It would seem that he did not like being used like that. But who would? Of course, my star lost, continued QB, and he was killed, or so everyone believes. But that's off track. You see, the reason why Hashirama won was because Mito interfered in their fight and was able to seal me inside herself, and she hence became the first Jinchurikami in history of the shinobi world. Time passed, and she aged like anyone else. So a new host was needed to keep me in bay. As soon as she died, I would simply be freed once more to cause more mayhem. QB chuckled darkly at that for a moment, before continuing. But that's where your mother comes into all this. She was transferred to Konoha at a young age, and I'm sure you can guess why. Mito died shortly after that, and your mother became the new Jinchuriki. But before going any further, there's something that you should know that happened. Suddenly QB became even more serious. Naruto paid extra attention to this if that was possible at all. Simply knowing all that he was important itself, but he knew that the next thing would be even more important than everything else so far. QB paused for a few more seconds, before saying the something that changed the course of destiny forever. Konoha betrayed the Uzumakis. Shizune, please tell me that this is not true, and that it's just simply some sick joke. I'm afraid not, Tsunade-sama. I'm gonna kill Jiraiya then. Apparently, Tsunade had just learned of Naruto's disappearance. And she was pissed. No, beyond pissed. How could Jiraiya lose track of Naruto? More importantly, why would Naruto leave in the first place? It simply made no damn sense at all. Right? Where's Jiraiya? Asked Tsunade with a growl. I don't know, Tsunade-sama, answered Shizune. She herself was worried. Naruto was like a little brother to her. She only hoped that he was safe at the moment. Find him then. And when you do, get him to come here as quickly as possible. Tsunade screamed to her young assistant while standing up from her chair. Hey, Tsunade-sama. Responded Shizune before running out the door, intent on accomplishing her new assignment. Tsunade calmed herself down as she sat down. But then, she hit her desk, breaking it into two pieces. When she saw Jiraiya again, she would kill him. Of all the irresponsible things that he had ever done so far, this was the worst of them all. Naruto, I hope you're alright, thought Tsunade worriedly. If she lost him, she didn't know what she would do. He was the only person who she really cared about anymore, well besides Shizune that is. He was the only reason that she even came back to this damn village in the first place. She went to her secret vault of sake behind the portrait of herself, next to all the other past Hokages, taking out one bottle of sake and started to gulp it down. If only she knew what destiny would bring next. Ah! That was the scream of one rude Andros. He was stabbed from behind and fell to the ground, dead. Where's he? Screamed another one as he looked around, trying to spot the assaulter. I don't know, was the reply of another one as he was looking around as well. Suddenly that figure appeared behind the Anbu, a sword in hand. You'll die for what you have done, stated the figure motionlessly. What? Naruto said in a whisper. He didn't scream like the last time, something that QB was sure he would do. It would seem that it affected him more than he thought. He could feel the darkness growing in Naruto's heart after having learned the latest information. But he didn't know whether that was a good thing or a bad one. Yes. You see, the Uzumakis were growing stronger, too strong in fact, something that the other nations didn't like, especially Kamawa, Iwa, and Kiri. So, they combined their forces and attacked Whirlpool. The clan was wiped out, but not before they brought about half of their forces down with them as well. Your mother was lucky, brat. It had only been a few days after she had left out the attack on his had begun. If she'd been, she would have most likely been killed as well. But how did Konoha betray the Uzumakis, you ask? That's simple. They were in an alliance with those in which they would help each other if one was attacked in their own territory and by an enemy more powerful. The Uzumakis kept their part of the bargain the whole time. However, Konoha did not. Your mother never knew any of this because she was still too young, but if she had, she would have never had been so loyal to Konoha as she was. They lied to her whole life, and were lying to you as well. Naruto listened to everything. He couldn't believe all of this. All the time he had been fighting for a village that would betray his own clan. And his mother as well. He clenched his fists. They would pay. Konoha would definitely pay. He'd make sure of it, even if it was the last thing he did. Suddenly there was a chuckle. Hey, it would seem as if it's my turn now. QB just cited the familiar voice. It would seem as if this would be a problem. Who said that? Asked Naruto as he looked around. That would be me. Next thing Naruto knew, another him appeared. Except it wasn't completely him. This him had ruby eyes just like the QB, and looked darker than himself. Who are you? Simple. I'm you. What? That's impossible. I'm the only me. Let me rephrase that. I'm your darkness. My darkness. Yes. Where do you think all your anger went? All your dark thoughts about revenge on the damn village. Do you think that they simply disappeared? Well, they didn't. They all came together and gave birth to me. Your evil self, your darkness. Basically anything dark about yourself. Naruto was speechless at that, which was happening a lot today. So this is where all his negative emotions went to. Sometimes he had wondered why he had never truly felt anything dark about Konoha for everything that they had done to him during his childhood. He just received his answer. It would seem as if your darkness is growing. Learning about you, or I should say, our heritage seems to be making you regret everything that you ever believed in. Am I right? Yeah, simply muttered Naruto. What are you doing here? Isn't it obvious? I'm here to tell him who our father is. Naruto's head popped up. That's right. He still didn't know who his father was. Kyuubi just looked at Dark Naruto with curiosity. Why? Because I want to personally see his reaction, retorted the dark entity. Naruto's curiosity rose up once more, his anger at Konoha forgotten at the moment. You see, my other self, our dear father, is the same person who caused you to have your fucked up childhood, who caused you to have your miserable life, your greatest pain in this world. Uzumaki Naruto, our father is none other than Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage. Chapter 4. The darkness within the hard part. The second thump, that was the sound that was made as the lifeless body of the root Anbu fell on the ground. It wasn't the only one either. In fact, the whole clearing was filled with dead root Anbu bodies. The only other living person was a person whose entire body was covered by a black cloak. You really couldn't see anything else about the person, except for the sword he was currently holding in his or her hand. Imbeciles, muttered the figure. You could tell from the voice that it was a female. Danzo, you piece of shit. It seems as if you must be desperate if you're sending this many of your damn lackeys. I wonder what's going on for you to have done this. Continued to rant the now identified female. I can answer that. With that, another person joined the first one. This one was covered with a black cloak just like the first one was. Unlike the first one though, this one was a male. HMPH. What the fuck do you want? Asked the woman in an irritated voice. Ho. Pissed, are you? Said the man with humor in his voice, unlike the woman. Tell me why you're here, or I'll slice your fucking head off. All right. The second figure said as he raised his hands in a surrendering manner. It seems as if Krishna's son has gone missing for about a year now. Krishna's son. From that statement, the female's whole demeanor changed to a more friendlier one. What do you mean he's gone missing? Heh. Exactly what I said. Apparently he was on a training trip with Jiraiya, but he went missing. It seems as if he just left Jiraiya for some reason. He's been looking for him all over the place, but he can't find him anymore. So, that's why Danzo sent as many of his root operatives then. He doesn't want to lose the power of the Kyuubi, muttered the female. Exactly. This is good. No, far from good. This is perfect. I've always wanted to get him from that hellhole, but he was always watched by those Anbu under the command of the Sendaime. But now that he's left the village and Jiraiya, all I have to do is find him. How? He's gone under the radar, off the face of the earth. Finding him will be difficult. Not only that, but I thought you wanted to kill Danzo, as well as find your other target. Asked the male. They can wait for now. I might never have another opportunity like this. I'll find Naruto-kun and keep him safe. That's a promise. With that, the female left the clearing, intent on finding her new objective as fast as possible. My, muttered the male. She seems enthusiastic. I better watch her back, just in case. With that, he too left the clearing, following his companion. Kyuubi didn't know what he wanted to do the most right now. He could either just let Dark Naruto continue, or he could try to strangle him. But then Kyuubi thought about the second one. There was no way he could strangle Dark Naruto because he was trapped behind the cage that was held closed by the seal of the Yondaime. Not only that, but his claws were too big to fit through the opening between the bars of the cage in the first place. So he couldn't hurt or kill Dark Naruto. That just plain sucked. If he ever met the Yondaime again in the afterlife, if he ever died that is, he would tear him to pieces for making him unable to kill someone when he wanted to. But enough about that. Let's get back to the conversation. What? Naruto said at a loss of words. You heard me. Your father is none other than Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage, or the man who made your life a living hell. Any of those will do, but personally, I prefer the last one. Naruto didn't know what to say to that. When he was just a little kid, he had always looked up to the Yondaime, but now that he knew that he was his father, he didn't know what to feel about him. His own father was responsible for the life that he had, and it wasn't a good one. I can tell that you're pretty confused right now. Not that anybody can blame you, since you just learned who your father is. But still, there's nothing to be confused about. What the hell are you talking about? I just learned that the Yondaime, the guy who sealed the QB inside of me, who caused me to have my fucked up childhood, is my father. Yeah, there's nothing to be confused about, yelled Naruto as he waved his arms around to emphasize his point. Exactly. Glad to know that you see my point, Dark Naruto said as he grinned from ear to ear. Naruto just simply screamed to vent out his frustration. But it was a scream full of anger, powerful enough, since he was inside his mind, to send Dark Naruto to his knees from the shockwave. QB just covered his ears. The scream lasted for a few more seconds, then Naruto calmed down a little. Feeling better? Asked Dark Naruto as he got up. No. I just want to rip something apart right now. Ha ha ha. That's how I feel all the time. Would you just shut the fuck up? Calm yourself down. Dark Naruto suddenly turned serious. It wouldn't do anybody any good if you let your anger take control of you, and as a result, you don't want to turn like the Uchiha, do you? Naruto took deep breaths in, trying to control his anger. Dark Naruto was right. Letting anger control you was certainly a foolish thing. Good. Now nothing. I wasn't done yet. Who gives a shit? There's nothing else he needs to know at the moment. Dark Naruto turned to his other self. What are you going to do now, my other self? Konoha muttered Naruto. I once thought of the place as my home. I thought I had a bunch of friends there. I thought that with enough time, they would come to recognize me. And now, said Naruto as his eyes turned crimson, just like the QB, all I want to see is that place destroyed. They betrayed my clan, my mother, and me. My father, he said the title with disgust, made my life a living hell, all to protect those useless pieces of shit. I'm making a promise right now that I won't stop until they pay for all they did. I'm going to become strong enough to avenge my clan. That's a promise. Dark Naruto just grinned, feeling Naruto's darkness within his heart increasing, making his power increase as well. It was better than he had ever expected. QB just simply silently watched all of this, while thinking, it seems as if Konoha has his days numbered. Well, Yondaime, in the end your noble sacrifice was in vain, because Konoha is going to be destroyed by the last person that you would have ever suspected your son. What do you have to say for yourself? Please. Have mercy. Wrong answer. Jiraiya just screamed in a high pitch as he was pounded into the ground by Tsunade. You see, Jiraiya had just arrived to Konoha after he was told by a squad of Anbu that Tsunade had ordered him to return to the village immediately. Jiraiya was shit scared all the way back to Konoha. He suspected that Tsunade had learned that he lost Naruto. Why else would she have ordered him to return? Unless some other problem had arisen, which he doubted. His fears were confirmed the second he stepped into her office as he was beat senseless by his teammate, asking him where Naruto was. It was a fact that he had no idea where the brat was. He searched everywhere, all his contacts, but no one had heard or seen him. Not only that, but he had cut off all ties with the toad somehow, something that hurt him. He thought that someday Naruto would become the next holder of the toad submarine contract, just like Minato, but it would seem as if it would never happen now. Unless he brought the brat back, and things returned to where they used to be, but that seemed like an impossible outcome. After a few more minutes of Jiraiya getting beat the crap out of him, Tsunade calmed down enough to talk to him. Jiraiya, you better hope he's alright, or else I will kill you. You hear me? She said dangerously. Jiraiya just nodded, understanding her anger. He had messed up this time, big time, alright. There was no one he could blame for this. It was all him. Good. Now get out of my office before I start beating you again. Jiraiya quickly left, thankful that it hadn't been worse than it had been. Tsunade sighed as she made to sit down. She would have to tell all of Naruto's friends what had happened. She only hoped that they would take it well, especially Sakura. After all of her teammates were now gone. Uchiha just sighed as he walked back to his room in the base that he, Orochimaru, Kabuto, and many other sound shinobi currently were residing in. Today, the training had been brutal, but he wasn't complaining. As long as he got the strength to kill Itachi, he didn't care about anything else. But currently, something else was occupying his mind. That was his old teammate Naruto. Deb, what are you up to? You see, Sasuke had just found out that Naruto had managed to sneak out from his training trip with Jiraiya undetected from Orochimaru and Kabuto. But it didn't make sense to him. Why would he leave? Naruto's dream was to become strong enough so that he could become Hokage, and what better way to do it from a Sannin? Right? He reached the door to his room, opened it, closed it, and went to get some rest for tomorrow's training, all the time not thinking what the future would bring next. The two figures were currently traveling at high speed through the Land of Fire's forest. "Would you slow down?" screamed the male. "If you can't keep up, then don't even try to follow me, cause I'm not slowing down," yelled back the female. "Here I am, trying to help her, and what do I get? Screaming, that's what," complained the male. The female just ignored him, focusing on finding the last location in which Naruto was seen at. Honestly, that Jiraiya. How could he let again and leave undetected just like that? Then, again, this is Jiraiya I'm talking about. He was probably distracted by some random woman. And Naruto-kun, to think he managed to pull it off, I'm so proud of him," thought the female. "Hey, you mind telling me why you're trying to find this kid? I mean, I know he's Kushina's son, but still," asked the male. The female just looked back at him. "I'm trying to help him because I wasn't able to do so when he was younger. I know I should have tried harder, but certain circumstances made it impossible, and you know very well what those were. Now I'm trying to correct my mistake any way possible, and no one is going to stop me." With that, she turned back, looking forward. "I see. And you wouldn't have alternative motives for doing this, am I right?" the male asked as he wiggled his eyebrows, showing what he meant. The female's eyebrows twitched. "If you ever say that again, I'll rip your fucking balls off. Am I clear?" "Crystal. Good." The male simply shook his head silently. Of course, he knew a lot about Uzumaki Naruto. A lot more than his partner did, but she didn't even know that. And he wasn't going to tell her either. But the male realized something: this could be the beginning of everything that he had been told. Of course, many other things had to happen before he absolutely believed that. But this was a start. "Uzumaki Naruto," thought the male, "let's see if you really are the person that I was told about." Chapter 5. The Summoning Contract. Get away from me. That was a scream of one fat man named Dan Hoshi. Hoshi was one of the most wanted men of the elemental nations for kidnapping women and selling them into slavery in his corporation. He was one of the most richest men in the world, had hundreds, maybe thousands, of women at his disposal for personal use, had his personal army of mercenaries, even a few road shinobi among them, and was one of the fattest men in the world, thanks to all the money that he had. But right now, none of that mattered for shit. You see, it was one of the regular nights for Hoshi. Go to one of the clubs that he owned, have a couple of drinks with associates and friends, find a good woman from his selection, and finish the day off with an awesome night. But all that went down the drain when suddenly somebody, he didn't know who, cause a figure was hidden in a black cloak, started massacring everybody in the club. Even all the men that he called, hundreds, all killed in minutes. Never in his life had he ever been more afraid than at this moment. He stopped running down the alley when he reached a dead end. "No. Not now, please," he pleaded to himself. Suddenly, someone appeared right behind him. Said the figure, "You really run fast for someone with your weight." From the deep voice, it was a man. "Please. Don't kill me. I'll double, no triple, whatever you were paid." "You think I'm doing this for money?" asked the man with a scoff. "Then I'll give you anything that you want. Land, power, women. I have plenty of those," said Hoshi with desperation in his voice. "You're a fool. People like you make me sick." Disgust was clear in his tone. He took out a sword hidden within his cloak. "No. Please." His plea went unanswered as the figure brought the sword down and sliced his head off with precision. The head fell down and rolled towards the figure's feet. He merely looked at it, icy blue eyes staring at the head, and then he kicked it towards the dead body in the ground. "Idiot. People like him were simply completely useless," muttered the figure. "Hair. Indeed. Humans like him were pitiful and weak. Nice work though. Burn that body and let's take the head to collect the bounty. As I said, I didn't do this just for the money. Now there's one less person women have to worry about, and one less useless moron that needs to be fed. Whatever brat." Naruto just picked up the head and put it inside one of the bags that he carried thanks to storage scrolls, and then he burned the body with a quick fire jutsu. "Another bounty. This one is going to be big, don't you think?" "Yeah, even if I don't need the money." Indeed, Naruto had become a mercenary/bounty hunter about 3 months ago. Thanks to all the bounties that he had acquired, he had millions in his personal account. This served a couple of purposes. 1. It helped him get used to killing. 2. A little extra practice in his stealth abilities. And 3. It helped him to be on the move faster. About 5 months ago, he noticed that someone was following him. He didn't know who, and he didn't want to find out either. This was the shinobi world after all. He was now 15 years old, almost 16. He was taller now, something he was graceful for, standing at about 6'3". His voice had also deepened, another thing that he was grateful for. He was now an S-rank shinobi. His training was almost complete, just a couple of things were left, like a summoning. Having discarded the toad contract, he was now in need of one. Having a summoning would definitely him as a support. After he had cut off his contract with the toads, he hadn't worried about it at all. But thanks to QB's reasoning and his own thoughts of the subject, he decided that having one would be a good advantage over his future opponents. I still don't know what summoning will be a good one though, thought Naruto as he continued to walk towards one of the cash houses. I have one in mind, but I'll tell you after we collect the money and get some rest. Good idea, Chidori. The sound of birds chirping could be heard out. Seth smashed his favorite jutsu on a gigantic boulder. He smirked as he saw how the rock went into thousands of little pieces. He could now do that Chidori for more than 2 times, and thanks to the curse mark and his Kepker levels increasing, it could become even more powerful. Yes, Seth thought in satisfied caution, my training is almost complete, and then I'll be able to kill Orochimaru. Seth was fully aware of what Orochimaru's intentions were since the beginning. And there was no way in hell that he was about to let that snake freak take control of his body. After all, I still haven't experienced the best part of being young indeed. Seth couldn't wait to find a suitable woman to recreate his clan. Contrary to popular belief, he had always been interested in the opposite sex, but not the ones that had always surrounded him. He wanted a woman that was strong, one who could defend herself and keep up with him, as well as have a backbone. A real kunoichi. Not all the girls in the academy whom he met, and that didn't know anything related to being a ninja. All they cared about were his name and his looks, not even bothering in trying to get to know him before saying that they loved him. Talk about shallow, better not waste my thoughts on them. I have better things to worry about. For example, his old teammate and the only person he had ever considered a friend, Naruto. Deb, you better have gotten stronger, or else I'm going to be disappointed when we meet. Sasuke wanted a rematch with Naruto. To truly fight him, and neither to hold back. He didn't count when they fought at the Valley of the End, since Naruto had let him win after all, something that he didn't like at all. That was why he had spared him, among other reasons. Yes. That's something else to look forward to. With that last thought, he resumed his training. Okay. This is bullshit. How long have tracked this kid for? And still we haven't found him yet. Be a man, and stop winning, will you? TCH indeed, it had been about 9 months since both of the unknown shinobi had started looking for Naruto, but they couldn't find him, no matter what they did. Whenever they found a trace of him, it led to nowhere. And then they found another one, and the pattern kept on repeating. That kid had impressive skills for hiding his tracks, reasoned the male. Konoha was an idiot for mistreating him as for his partner. She was focusing on detecting anything that will lead them, or better yet, her, to Naruto. She didn't care about her partner at the moment. They were investigating the exact alley in which Naruto had killed Hoshi the night before, not that they knew, of course. Okay, someone was definitely here, stated the female as she looked at the dried blood on the ground. Yeah, and someone was also killed here, retorted the male. You are really starting to irritate me. Yeah, well, what else is new? The female just rolled her eyes. Come on, let's follow the scent. With that, they moved on, street from street and then out to the outskirts of the village until they came into a building that they both recognized instantly, and it also surprised them both greatly. One of those cash houses, where bounties are collected, stated the male with surprise present in his voice. Yeah, the female didn't say anything else, but her mind was working overtime. If he was here, it could only mean one thing: he was collecting a bounty. Which means that he's become a bounty hunter, and the blob we saw earlier in that alley was of his last target. Interesting. I would never have thought that you had it in you, Naruto-kun. Once again, you amaze me with that in mind. She moved toward the building, and our companion had no choice but to follow her. Hey. I would never have thought that that kid could kill in cold blood. I wonder what else has changed, muttered the male, coming to the same conclusion as his partner as to why they're here. It seems as if he's finally growing up, responded the female. Maybe, muttered the male, although he had to agree. The two of them reached the door, and the female knocked on the door, and some creepy guy with one eye opened it halfway. Can I help you? He said in a hard voice. Yes, we're looking for someone. We believe he came this way. Can you help us identify him? Said the female in a cheerful voice. No. Now leave. With that, the man slammed the door, leaving an irritated woman on the other side. Ha ha ha. It seems you lost your feminism. It would seem as if age is catching up to you. That's it. Without comment from her partner, the female kicked the door open, finding a shocked man on the other side. But that wasn't the only thing. It would seem as if he was about to have intercourse with a young lady about 16 years old. The male whistled. Hey. Now we know why he was so hasty. I take back my comment about you being old. The female didn't pay attention to him. Rather, she suddenly appeared on the other side of the room with a man on her hold, choking him, her sword pointed at what made him a man. Now that wasn't very nice, was it? Didn't your mother ever tell you that it's not nice to slam doors at women when they want something? Her companion was laughing his head off in the background. Now, if you don't want to lose your friend, I suggest you tell us who we're looking for. TCH. Fine. I'll tell you what you want. Just promise to leave afterwards, agreed the old man reluctantly, seeing no other way to save his precious jewel. Now we're talking. Sakura couldn't believe what had happened in the last 2 years. They were gone. Her teammates, both of them, were gone. Why? That was the only thing that she could ask herself. Why would they leave her behind? Especially Naruto. He was the most surprising of the two. Wasn't it his dream to become Hokage? He couldn't do that if he was out there, doing whatever it was that he was doing, and not here in the village. And Sasuke? She kinda understood why he left. Revenge. To get strong enough to defeat his brother, to avenge his clan. But that didn't mean that she liked it. Even after she told him that she loved him, he still left. It would seem as if he didn't feel the same way she felt. And that really hurt her. Deep. But she would worry about her personal feelings later. For now, all that mattered to her was to get her teammates back. That was the reason why she was training with Tsunade. To get stronger so she could catch up to her teammates and get them back, no matter what. That was her mission at the moment, and she would complete it, so that everything could be back to normal, and Team 7 would be reunited. For things to return to how they were before Orochimaru ever came into the picture. If only she knew that nothing could ever be back to normal. If only Uchiha Itachi, the youngest shinobi to have ever become an Naruto captain. The single man who killed his entire clan in one night, including his parents. The most powerful Uchiha at the moment. He could not believe what he was hearing. Are you sure about this, Zetsu? Yes, Pain-sama. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki has become more powerful than we had ever anticipated. He could probably rival Itachi. Said named individual just kept silent, but not his partner. That's simply not possible. We met the brat 2 years ago. He was pathetic. There's no way he could be as strong as you say he is, stated Kisame with a scoff. Are you doubting my skills? Asked Zetsu dangerously. What if I am? There's nothing you can do about it. After all, I'm stronger than you, said Kisame with arrogance. Enough. Screamed Pain. Kisame, do not doubt Zetsu. His skills in tracking and spying are the best in all of Akatsuki. If he says he's sure, then it must be. You met the Kyuubi Jinchuriki 2 years ago, and that's enough time for an individual to become powerful if he or she has the necessary motivation. Believe me, I know. Kisame decided to not say anything else in the matter. After all, he knew Pain was stronger than him, and could kill him if he ever wanted to. He might love a battle, but even he knew when it wasn't smart to take place in one. What are we going to do? Asked Sasori within his favorite puppet. Yes, this could prove to be troublesome, added Keksu. As much as he hated to admit it, he recognized skill when he saw or heard of it. It was one of the things that had kept alive this whole time. And unlike Kisame, he believed on what Zetsu told them. Who cares? I'll just make him a sacrifice. Said Hadan enthusiastically. Didoro decided not to say anything at all. While this is not welcomed news, the plan still remains unchanged. We will continue to hunt the Jinchuriki soon. So get whatever you need to be done. Is that clear? Stated Pain to all the members of the Akatsuki. HAI. Good. Dismissed. Itachi opened his eyes as he returned his consciousness back to his real body. Fucking Zetsu, muttered Kisame. Itachi paid him no mind. He was currently thinking on what to do now. How? First you leave, and the next thing I know you become powerful enough that you can rival me. You are full of surprises, Naruto-kun, so this contract is really powerful. Yes, it is. Currently Naruto was in his mind discussing what summoning contract he should get. And Kyuubi really had a good one in mind. Dragons, muttered Naruto. The dragon summoning contract. The most powerful summonings out there. No one had ever been able to obtain in thousands of years, or so the rumors went. It was rumored that the last summoner for them was at the time of the Sage of Six Paths. No one knew what the test was to be able to be a summoner for them, because all the hopeful souls that went to try to be the new summoner never returned. Talk about a mystery. Why use summons? Just blow everything up. No. There might come a time when I'll probably need them. It would be better to be prepared, retorted Naruto. Hey. You're finally using your brain and thinking ahead, huh? I gotta say, I'm impressed. But you'll have to be careful. We don't know what kind of test they're gonna give you. He said the last part seriously, and Naruto had to agree with him. He'll have to be careful. He couldn't just rush in, or it'll probably be the end of him. Alright, then, Kyuubi. Where's the contract located? Kyuubi grinned to himself. This would be the last test before he could decide whether Naruto was worthy or not. I hate walking, don't you, to anything else besides wine. Don't you to anything else besides bitch. Seriously, you need to get laid. It will relieve you of all your stress. Do you want me to cut your balls off? The male just shrank back. That's what I thought. Crazy bitch, what was that? Nothing. The unusual dude just continued walking down the road, something the male could not stand. Why aren't we tree hopping? I mean, we can do that. If we do, it'll alert him that we're coming. I think that he already knows that. Yeah, he probably does. But we'll catch him at some point. I know. How? The female grinned to herself. Call it a woman's intuition. Naruto could not believe what his eyes were seeing. That was one huge mountain. Just why did things always have to be so difficult? No one could make anything simple nowadays. This is it, brat. Good luck. One final advice, don't lie. Oh, and if you find a female